Hello everybody and welcome back to Very Biased Opinions. It's another round of Premier League predictions. We're up to week number 22 now, if you can believe it. We've got the FA Cup out of the way. It's back to Premier League. Remember, there are timestamps in the description, so if you want to cherry pick and skip ahead to games you want to see, the timestamps are down in that description. But without further ado, Thomas, lead us into the first match.
Sheffield United versus West Ham United.
What a way to start. Let's just get this out of the way straight away. Here's a picture of Chris Wilder sliding to celebrate Oxford winning the playoffs in 2010. And his Sheffield United side comes up against a man who doesn't know anything other than winning. Nothing other than winning for Moyes. You know, what can you say? You have to say West Ham are going to win this game, but obviously, logically, they're probably not. Sheffield United have been a revelation this season. Yes, West Ham have had the new manager bounce so far and had a really good result against an awful Bournemouth side. And but I think they'll be good enough to get a point in this one. I think it's going to be a draw. I think one apiece.
Ian, all David Moyes does is win, no matter what. Every time he steps into the building, everybody's hands go up.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of move down into mediocrity, and then they tend to just ask him to leave. But still.
Do you remember when he was manager of Real Madrid? That's all they did was win.
Yeah, he's come into West Ham, and, they looked better, but it would have been hard for them not to. Bournemouth are becoming the Bolton of the Premier League in that they're basically just putting a team of boys on the pitch and hoping for the best, and right now it's not working out. Sheffield United have been a revelation, but their form has been curbing slowly. The last 3 games haven't been great for them. They've lost a couple, they've drawn one. And
a little asterisk there, though, Tom. They did play Liverpool and City.
See? I mean, who are they? Who are they? They've been really good, though, this year. It's hard to look past a draw, in all honesty, in this match, so I'm going to go for 1-1.
Anyway, Thomas, watch out! The Eagles are coming! As Crystal Palace take on Arsenal.
Right, well, the raging dumpster fire produced a miracle last week by beating the mighty Man United. It was a pretty diabolical game in which Man United put zero effort in as far as I could tell, and that is a classic thing on their part. But Arsenal did look good. The Callum Chambers injury is going to hurt, but Socrates scored a goal last week. Sorry, Socrates. Crystal Palace who's manager of the year right now? Is it Roy Hodgson or is it Chris Wilder?
David Moyes.
Palace have done really well. They're just ticking along. They're on 28 points. They're getting to safety, and once they get there, they're in the top half of the table. I never think the raging dumpster fire of shit now managed by a young Spanish man are going to be successful. I don't think it's going to work. I don't like the style of play. I think they beat Man United because United are absolutely useless at breaking teams down. And if I was Arsenal defense, I'd be petrified of Wilfried Zaha running at me over and over and over again. And as such, Ian, it's going to be 1-0 to the Eagles.
I have to disagree with you, and it's not that I think Arsenal have turned into a good side overnight. No, far from it. They're still really bad at the back. It's just us as football fans are really easy to fool. When you've been in a bad patch and a new manager comes in, all he does is just get the players to run around a bit and put in a bit more of a defensive effort, and everybody thinks they've turned a massive corner and they're going to march up the league. But I do think that he has this Arsenal side does have quality in it. And if they can work a bit harder at keeping the ball out of the bloody net, they should win more games. And I think Arsenal will win this one. And I think it will be more of the Arteta's revolution. 2-1 to Arsenal.
Ugh, scum. How can you not vote for the south side of London? They've got one team, Ian. One team.
I do like Roy Hodgson.
I know you do. He's your favorite. Or not your favorite. He's in your top 8. It's time for Chelsea versus Burnley.
I do not know how to predict either of these clubs. You just do not know what you're going to get. It's like life is like a box of chocolates with these two. So you'd have to say you'd fancy Chelsea being at home, but it could be one of those absolutely disastrous Chelsea performances. Burnley, I backed them. I think I backed them to win their last game, and they lost it. I think to Brighton, did they, or something? But yeah, and so I don't know. What's going on? Chelsea 2-0.
Yeah, so Burnley having had us talk about how great they'd been for most of the year, have just kind of fallen apart and the wheels have come off. They were like free scoring at the beginning of the year. Like, I swear Ashley Barnes must have like 6 or 7 goals.
I think they sort of rode that bandwagon of being free scoring, like because they had like a good 3 or 4 games at the start.
And now they're nowhere close. They're shipping more goals than they're scoring. They don't seem to be able to hold it together. They've looked poor. They haven't looked like they've planned out a lot of results recently. And they're slipping into what is now the ugliest relegation battle on earth. Norwich, the only team at the bottom of the table that actually looks like they're going to go down. Watford are picking up points. Villa have picked up some points. West Ham have picked up points. Bloody Brighton, Newcastle, Southampton, all these clubs have picked up points, where Bournemouth and Burnley just seem to be sliding into it. I'm worried for Burnley, but Chelsea are terrible at home. They may be the Crystal Palace of the top 4. But you got to go for them at home, don't you? You've just got to. Fool's errand to not. So I'll try and better your result 3-0 to the Blues.
Yeah, everybody put your money on Burnley this weekend because they're bound after we've done this. But I just couldn't believe how they'd only had like they had like 1 shot on goal. They averaged like 1 shot on goal a game. It's so poor. And then they played Peterborough in the cup, and they're like 3-0 up after like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's really, really nuts. Everton versus Brighton and Hove and Albion.
It doesn't ever seem fair that Brighton get to field 3 sides and the opposition only ever get 1. Although I suppose sometimes the other team's united. Unfortunately, this is the second best team in Liverpool. Currently, maybe challenging for the 3rd best team after being beaten by quite literally a bunch of schoolboys in the cup. I don't know a worse way to lose to your nearest rivals than having a 17-year-old in no position to shoot being able to bang one in the top corner, and you have no response for 9.
The goal was a wonderful goal, but it's the response. The whole second half, they were terrible.
It was classic Everton. The new manager bounce has worn off. Is really good. I mean, they picked up points under Ferguson. They picked up points under Ancelotti, and now they are actually falling apart again. It was, I don't know. I know it's a cup game, but like they played their first team. They played their starting 11 basically
they did.
Against a bunch of children and lost. Yeah. And there's no Jurgen Klopp magic in this. I don't care what way you want to spin this. They were just poor. They can't score goals. They're poor. And Brighton managed their Christmas schedule really well. They rested a bunch of players in the cup. They rested a bunch of players against Liverpool and almost got a result. Then they go to Bournemouth 3 days later. They beat Bournemouth pretty substantially. It was only 2-0, but they were in total control. They then had their cup match, clearly didn't care, threw a bunch of reserves out there. Reserve goalkeeper, who I don't think's made an appearance this season, maybe in the League Cup.
Probably not. I doubt it. Yeah, probably in the League Cup, yeah.
You've got to fancy Brighton for this.
But should Brighton be doing that?
Well, you'd say no, but it paid off against Everton. Or against Spurs. They almost got a result against Spurs, and then they go out and they beat Bournemouth. And at the end of the day, the name of the game for a club like Brighton is to stay in the league. And right now, they're only a couple points worse off than last year, but they're playing much more attractive football, which is important, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I'd rather my team scrape the league, but manage to score a boatload of goals on the way to doing that, than kind of Watforded around and scored 17 goals after 21 matches. Like, and I don't know, Brighton, to me, they look good. And if it pays off, if they win this game, then yeah, great. I'm going to go with the Brighton away win. Everton just seem to be nicking goals in a lot of games, except against Liverpool. So I'm going to go 2-1 to Brighton.
I don't need to say much because you've summed it up perfectly for both sides. But all I'm going to say is the new manager bounce is going to continue for Ancelotti. It's going to be 2-1 to Everton.
And that leads us in to Leicester City versus Southampton.
Southampton, I mean...
I'm sorry, what? Wait, Southampton are in 12th?
No, it is a little bit like rub your eyes in disbelief, isn't it? Like, it's more of a shock to see them in 12th than it is to see Leicester in 2nd.
2 weeks ago, they had 15 points. Now they have 25.
Hey, they've done. I mean, you've got to give them credit. They have done really well, and it helps the fact that Danny Ings has just been absolutely amazing for them over the last few weeks. I think he's got like 9 goals now this season. I mean, does he come into recognition for England at some point if he keeps scoring goals?
No.
I think he's got to. No, okay, fair enough. You know, there's going to be no return of King Ralph. That ship has sailed. It's clear that they want this guy to stick around, and they should. He's a great manager. They played really well against Tottenham, deserved to beat them. And they've been, you would say you would fancy Leicester in this one because they've been so good this season, but Southampton, you wouldn't be that shocked if they did get a result there now. But I am still going to back Leicester at home just because they are just so good and dynamic and play with so much pace. I'm going to say Leicester will win 3-1.
Yeah, you've summed it up quite well. I mean, Southampton their hard-working play is finally paying off. This is what we were afraid of wasn't happening earlier in the season. Leicester, on the other hand, hit their blip, lost to a couple of big boys, and there's nothing wrong with losing to Liverpool or City. There really isn't. But outside of that, they're actually winning most of their games around that, and they're almost a juggernaut at this point. Against the big boys, it's a bit of a toss-up, but they've manhandled everyone else, like absolutely manhandled. I actually think they've handled Jamie Vardy really well. He's a guy who does like something like 14, 15, 16 sprints a match, which is an ungodly amount to sprint 50, 60 meters at a time. And they've rested him. I'm pretty sure he's playing in this game. You can't look past Leicester in this. And as great as Southampton have been, Leicester don't fall apart the way Spurs do. So I've got Leicester to win this one 3-0. It's time to stop because we need to thank 1,033 people for following us. Woo!
Woo!
Honestly, we're so happy. We're so very happy. It's insane. Thank you so much for supporting us and just doing nice things for us and, saying nice things. Although whoever told me they didn't like me in comments earlier, you're neither the first nor the last person to say that. And I will continue to publish these videos. Please have a look below. We've timestamped everything. Please have a look at Grandstand Bettors. They're actually good at this. We are terrible, but we really love you all for continuing to watch us for some reason. Have a look at our social media things. They've not been updated in a while, but they will be soon because I am back at work and I've not had a drink in 3 days. So I may be productive. And again, genuinely, a huge thank you. Please look at the timestamps. Please keep liking, subscribing, and keep commenting. We really do appreciate it, and constructive feedback is genuinely, it's appreciated. Now, without further ado, or gilding the lily, the Wolves from Wolverhampton are going to wander about as Newcastle United come to visit.
How smoothly you took us into that game, Torrent. Well,
segue!
So, yes, obviously, comments about Steve Bruce's side, but his Newcastle side has been on a bad run, and absolutely freaky game against Leicester, where they lost 4 players to injury after like about 50 minutes. Really, really long injury list for Steve Bruce. If anybody can help them, can sort that out, it will be him, because he is undoubtedly the greatest manager on the planet today, and the second coming of Kevin Keegan.
I will love it if we beat them.
As my ramblings dictate, I have to keep backing Newcastle even in games I don't think they're going to win because Wolves are generally a really good side. But come on, you Magpies! Let's do them! 2-1 Newcastle.
You do have the ravings of a madman in this game because there's no way you're going to beat this Wolves team, who, by the way, after all the VAR controversy they've had to go through this Christmas, are going to just be spitting blood at this point. They've had no luck whatsoever. I think they're going to turn it around here. They've been really good. Raul Jimenez might be one of the most underrated strikers in the world at this point. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because he's Mexican and Mexico hasn't contributed a great striker in a long time or something, but dude looks dangerous.
People don't talk about him very much, though, do they? He kind of gets lost behind like other strikers in the league.
Every time you read a report on Sky or BBC about it, they mention Raul Jimenez is really good, and the commentators seem to mention it, and then it's just glossed over after that. It's like, oh, right, tick that box, let's get going. He's awesome. Newcastle, I'm getting rid of a little bit of my Steve Bruce hate because he's just kind of Rafa Benitez 2.0ing. And it might be that they have the exact same body and they're actually the same person. And Rafa Benitez is in fact Steve Bruce with a mustache and then black hair dye. But I don't know. And a pair of glasses, obviously. But Newcastle aren't going to win this game. I wouldn't be surprised if they barely even try to win because they're away from home and they're Newcastle. So I've got Wolves to win this 2-0.
This should be a classic. Tottenham Hotspur versus Liverpool.
4-0, Liverpool. I'm done. Your turn.
Oh, no. You're not going to talk about anything?
Spurs haven't changed that much under Mourinho. They're still just There's so many errors in them. They seriously need to spend some money at Christmas now. They need to bring in some fresh blood. I don't think Mourinho's doing a bad job. The new, humble, great Mourinho, the media is full of.
Is he, though? He's kind of gone... He's got... Spurs' honeymoon seems to be over, and he seems to be getting grumpier by the week now.
I don't know how he wouldn't be grumpy with this team, if I'm totally honest. The goalkeeping is erratic at the best of time. But no matter what, let's not go into that. Let's really just quickly touch on the fact that Liverpool aren't allowed to lose football matches anymore. And even when they're playing badly, VAR or something else decides to just give them the game. The league is theirs this year. They turn it on constantly. They played a bunch of 12-year-olds during the week, which means Mane, Firmino, Salah, hopefully Jordan Henderson's fit again, Van Dijk's back in the team, Alisson. You know, it's almost a totally different side about a week off. You give those players a week off, they are going to be chomping at the bit, and this Liverpool team are going to harry, harass, and destroy the Spurs side. It's going to be a hatful of goals. I'm going 4-0.
Also, as well, you've got to factor in the fact that Harry Kane is going to be out for a while with a torn hamstring, which is like the biggest disaster in the history of disasters that Tottenham could possibly have. Yeah, Liverpool, absolutely amazing. But I am going to say that Mourinho is going to park the bus in this one. And Tottenham come away with a 1-1 draw somehow.
You see, that's going to take, like, heroics. Is it Gazaniga? Is that their backup goalkeeper? I mean, we're going to have to give him a lot of roids pre-game.
Eric Dyer's going to have a screamer. Do you know one thing? This is just virtually just confounded the fact that you're going to win predictions this week, because whenever one of us backs against City or Liverpool, that is the defining factor of the week.
Oh, backing against City. Ian, what a great segue, because our next match, Aston Villa versus Manchester City.
Yeah, there's no way I'm going to be backing against Man City in this one. Villa up and down like a uppy downy yo-yo-y thing, really, aren't they? You don't know what Villa you're going to get. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. I mean, you look at the injury crisis of teams. Villa have been hit really bad in the last game. They lost Tom Heaton, which is really, really bad news for them. I think he's out for the season. Yeah. Wesley, he didn't really score a lot of goals anyway, but he's another one who's out for the season. So it's going to be tough for them. Tyrone Mings, I think, is back. He makes a big difference to their side when he plays. And generally, they have played better against the bigger sides this season. But City 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, the best part about this match is that you just feel like City will concede a goal, and it will probably be at 1-0 or 2-0. Or it may be 3 minutes into the match. They may just ship a goal for fun and then get angry and have to go up the other end and score. Both these teams are oddly erratic. Obviously, City are erratic at the high level, and Villa are erratic at the low level, but you can't not see Villa scoring, right? Because everyone gets a goal against City, including...
They were good last time out.
Port Vale got a goal. Also, did you see the guy's tweet?
Tom Pope. Good player, Tom Pope. Good lower league striker, but yeah, I have seen it. And I actually think that John Stones acted like a bit of a twat by do you know what I mean? He could have just literally just laughed it off, played it up, but he seemed like a bit sulky and moody because some League Two player was having a poke at, making fun of him.
I liked it when even Pope was like, he's on like 150 grand a week. Like,
I know. Like literally just laugh it off, shake hands with him, swap shirts with him, and you never probably have to see him ever again in your life.
And just move on. Anyway, there's not a lot more to talk about this game. It's going to be 4-1 to Man City because apparently I can't pick the same score as you every other time.
AFC Bournemouth versus a resurgent Watford. Come on, Thomas. Maybe it's time we take young Eddie out the back of the barn with the shotgun.
Eddie, why? Why? I mean, it feels like the entire Premier League feels bad for Bournemouth. They're like everything that can go wrong in a football club, right? Like every injury they could possibly have, they've got. And the team is falling apart. And they're also kind of hamstrung by the fact that every now and then a player comes back, like Billing comes back. But coming back doesn't mean they're fit. It just means they can now run around without breaking down again.
Oh, yeah, exactly, yeah.
They don't look match fit, and it takes 3 or 4 games. And when you're losing every game and you're being run ragged, it might take even more time because no one's running by the 60th minute at Bournemouth. They've given in, and they look like they're giving in. And that's probably the scariest part because the only person on the Bournemouth side who doesn't look like they've given in is Eddie Howe. That being said, I can't not back my boy. And I'm going to go for a Bournemouth home win. It's going to relieve the pressure on Edward. He's going to stay in the job. Bournemouth are going to climb back up that table, which, by the way, is almost virtually a chance of nil because no one's coming back for months. Everyone is out with long-term injuries. These aren't like 2-week things.
Oh, I know. Most of their key players.
Like, I don't know what, I think it was the NBC broadcast. It was like 4 or 5 of the players aren't expected back until at least February. And like, you've just come out the hardest fixture period where you've lost a shed load of matches. And now you've got 4 or 5 games this month and you're just falling apart. But no, it won't happen. Bournemouth 2, Watford 0.
Bournemouth actually did do well in the FA Cup. They had a good result, and that might, give some confidence back to the players. Watford, on the other hand, were 3-0 up and proceeded to draw 3-3 with a League One or League Two side. I forget who it was now. But
the best team in Liverpool.
It was, wasn't it? It was. League One's so that was a weird result, and but generally Nigel Pearson's done a great job since he's gone in there. It's like the Watford of last season has come back again. They're just playing. They're a lot more solid now, and we know from last season this side can go on like long unbeaten runs, and that's what they're doing.
Last season, Ian, all they've done in the Premier League history is win 10, lose 12.
But sort of the wheels fell off a little bit, but they did have a long period where they were doing well last season, but they weren't in any relegation trouble last season. And I think that Watford carry it on, unfortunately. Yeah, I do feel sorry for Bournemouth and Eddie Howe, but they got to stick with him. There's no one else that's going to come in and save that club. And it's going to be 2-1 to Watford. You couldn't see, it'll almost be like sacrilege if they got rid of Howe and brought someone like Allardyce in.
Oh my God, could you imagine as well, like, the difference in style of play? Like, at least Howe keeps trying to attack and has his team try and play with some sort of possession. Allardyce would be like, 11 men behind the ball. We need to bore the Bournemouth fans into their...
That's exactly what it would be, wouldn't it? It would be like, they get rid of Howe and they appoint like Pulis or Allardyce, and it'll just be like every Bournemouth footage is shot in black and white. And then as soon as they leave, they get Howe back, because that's what they've done in the past, and it just turns to colour, glorious Technicolor again.
Well, flowers.
Like the Wizard of Oz.
I see something at the bottom of this match fixture list. Looks exciting.
That, my friend, is because it's our main event.
Manchester United versus bottom of the table, Norwich City. Note that I had to point out that Norwich are bottom of the table because anytime you see even a mediocre side come up against Man United, you think they're going to get a result.
It is so much a case of one step forward, one step back with Man United. It's just not funny anymore, but they still do find themselves 5th in the league and still with a chance of getting into that top 4. Thomas, as our resident Man United expert, what do you think?
Can we get rid of the bluff meter this week? Because I don't need that below meter in this. Man United and Chelsea and Spurs are all in a battle to not take 4th place, and they're doing their damnedest to get there. I mean,
Arsenal will join them soon. They'll have a little run, then they'll mess up the back end of the season.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'd like to see Palace keep kind of trying to tunnel through. I mean, if Palace win, they're equal on points with Man United. And Man United lose, like, half their games. So, maybe. This year has been tough to watch. That Arsenal result, like, after all the steps forward Man United had, after big results against good teams, their total inability to move forward is becoming a problem. But for the first time this season, I feel a bit worse for Ollie because McTominay's out and was out. Yeah, and all of a sudden, it's Fred and Matic in center midfield. And Matic, I think, has been hard done by Ollie, but he is slow and not the most forward player. And now
I even forgot he was there.
We didn't get played for the first half of the season. Then it looked like he was being put in the window a month ago, like kind of like, he's here, sign him. And then now Ollie's had to come out and be like, no, we're keeping him. He's definitely staying at the club because there's no one else to play that position. And all of a sudden, their style of play of having these 2 midfielders that are kind of, one's generally more defensive than the other, but they're generally kind of sat in front. It doesn't work because it's Fred and Matic, and neither of them want to pass the ball any way other than that way or that way, because if they go that way, they tend to miss it unless it's a Matic screamer. Norwich have been comically bad this year. Like, comically bad. And I don't think it's necessarily their fault. I don't think they made a huge amount of signings, and I think they kind of hoped their style of play would keep them in the league. But the problem in the Premier League is there's a lot of really good teams. I think United should get this. I think they should win this, and I think they're actually going to win it by 2 or 3 goals, which will do what it keeps doing at United, of papering over cracks, and then they won't sign anybody. It's going to be really annoying. I'm going to go with 3-0 to Man United, but I don't think it's going to be a great game.
It's just amazing how much Man United change if they go a goal down. They just, like against Arsenal, they just seem to like lose all confidence straight away. And but I think in this one, just because Norwich are a little bit more gung-ho than a lot of sides you see down the bottom, I think that might play into Man United's hands a little bit. And I think Man United will win. I think they'll win it 2-0. The comfortable win that they kind of need at this stage. But Norwich, I mean, we give Norwich a hard time, but then by no means out of it. Like, you know, considering they haven't like spent a lot of money, they've done things the right way that we've talked about in the past, and they've still got as good a chance as anyone of getting out of it.
Yeah, let's just hope that their first step out of the relegation battle isn't against Man United.
Yes.
And Ian,
for your sake, Thomas, let's hope it starts next week.
I agree. Quick question for you. Next manager to get sacked. Is it Villa and Dean Smith, AFC Bournemouth and Eddie Howe, or Sean Dyche at Burnley?
Oh my God. I would honestly say I think that it'd probably be Eddie Howe. And that's crazy. That sounds crazy in my head. But I just think Villa are going to give... I wouldn't be shocked if Smith sees the whole season out. And, you know, Burnley are always going to just get... Burnley aren't going to go down. They'll be enough.
I think Villa would be happy with him. I think Villa would, be happy in the Premiership next year. I think you're kind of seeing that from the way they've acted with Dean Smith. And I think that in the Championship, you'd rather have a Championship manager than a Premiership manager. The Premiership manager is going to jump ship if Villa get relegated in all probability. Like, there's no way Sam Allardyce sticks with them in the Championship. And I think Villa kind of look at it and they're like, 50-50, we're going down, we keep him. I don't think you're wrong. I think Eddie... Eddie, don't do it.
Okay, everybody. Before Tom bursts into a fit of tears, we've just got to wrap this one up. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a big old like and think about subscribing to the channel, and also go and check out Grandstand Bettors to win yourself some cash. Thomas, do you have anything else to add?
If you're looking for detailed football analysis, probably in the wrong place.